Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome to lecture 36 of the course on multivariate data mining methods and applications. The title of this lecture is Committee Machine and Random Forests. Sometimes when we train a model for a given data set, for the training data set, then for the training data set it performs well. But when we take a new observation or a new data, then for that new data, the model does not perform well. Now, such kind of error is called generalization error. The model is good for the data for which it has been trained, but it is not performing well for the data for which it is not trained. Committee machine is one of the options which one can use to control the generalization error. Basically, committee machine is ensemble learning. We develop different models and then we combine the results of those different models to control the generalization error. Now, two of the methods through which we can employ committee machine are bagging and boosting. So, in this lecture, we are going to discuss bagging and boosting. One more method for ensemble learning is random forest. So, we will also discuss in this lecture random forest. Now, first we consider committee machine or ensemble learning. And the basic objective of committee machine is to lower the generalization error of a learning algorithm and to improve the accuracy of learning algorithm. What we do in ensemble learning or committee machine, we develop multiple models and then we combine these multiple models to improve the predictive performance over any individual model. And by generalization error we mean how well a machine learning model performs on unseen data. So, although you have fitted the machine learning model for the training data and it is performing well for the training data, if it is not performing well for an unseen data, a new data, then of course it is not so useful, and this kind of error is called generalization error. And to control or to overcome this generalization error problem, one can make use of ensemble learning. One can develop multiple models and then combine the results of those multiple models to get better predictions. Two of the approaches are bagging and boosting. Basically, committee machine exploit the presence of instability to create a more general accurate learning model, or you get better predictor or classifier. So, what we do, we generate an ensemble of base predictors or classifiers by perturbing the learning set, and by perturbing the learning set, we get different predictors based on different fitted machine learning models, and then we combine them into a single combined predictor or classifier. So, first we have generated an ensemble of base predictors by perturbing the learning set, and now you have different learning sets, and on the basis of different learning sets we develop different base predictors or classifiers, and then we combine all these base predictors or classifiers into a single predictor or classifier. Now, the basic difference between bagging and boosting is in the process of generating perturbations. In bagging, we generate perturbations by random and independent drawings from the learning set. And then basically our focus is on variance reduction. Whereas in boosting process, the perturbation process is deterministic. What we do? We generate perturbations by successive reweighting of the learning set, and then the current weights depend upon the misclassification history or the process, and then we combine the results. Basically the focus is on reducing the bias. Now, first we consider bagging, which is an acronym of bootstrap aggregating. If learning process is stable, then bagging may not provide any improvement. So, usually we make use of bagging when the learning process is unstable. Now, suppose this is the learning set. You have observations on input variables, and then yi denotes the observation on ith response variable. In regression problems, yi is continuous response. In classification problems, yi is an ordered class level. So, if your problem is a classification problem, then you assign ordered class label to different classes, and in that case yi is an ordered class label. Then we draw B bootstrap samples of size n from L. The learning set has n observations in it. Now, we are drawing B bootstrap samples of size n from L, and by bootstrap sample means we are drawing n observations from the learning set L with replacement. So, there might be some repetitions. So, although we are drawing a sample of size n, this is not the same as the learning set, just because of sampling with replacement. Then, as I mentioned, each bootstrap sample is obtained by repeated sampling with replacement from L. We also assign echo properties for the sample points. So, the probability of selection of ith observation we denoted by Pi is equal to 1 upon n. So, xi yi, which is the ith observation of the learning set, is selected with probability 1 by n for all I equal to 1 to n. And we sample n times with the placement from the distribution. And this is the bootstrap sample L star B equal to xi star B, yi star B, I equal to 1 to n and B equal to 1 to capital B. So, these are capital B bootstrap samples. Now, we consider bagging tree based classifiers. Now, in case of classification problem, this yi is a class label attached to input variables xi. Then consider bth bootstrap sample L star B and grow a classification tree T star B. So, this classification tree T star B is based on the bth bootstrap sample L star B. And usually we grow the tree very large without pruning. And suppose xy is a test observation. These are test observations on the class label or the response variable y and the input variables involved in this vector x. And this sample point is from the same joint distribution as L. So, we are taking this sample from the same joint distribution from which we have drawn the learning set. Then for determining the class of x through the decision tree, what we do, we drop x down each of B bootstrap trees, and from each tree, when we drop down x, it ultimately goes to a terminal node associated with a class. So, for each bootstrap tree, we get a class label for x. And since obviously we are using different bootstrap samples, so different bootstrap samples may lead to different classes. So, the problem is how to select a particular class for x. Suppose x falls down to a particular terminal node, then we say that the tree votes for that particular class. And then to determine a particular class to which x belongs, we use majority vote rule. Say we predict class of x as that class which receives most number of votes over B trees. You have total B trees, and then in these B trees, if a particular class receives maximum number of votes, then we say that that particular class is the predicted class of x. And this rule is majority vote rule. Now, if you consider these observations L minus L star B, then these are the observations in L that are not selected for the Bth bootstrap sample L star B. So, if xy belongs to L minus L star B, then xy is called an out of bag or OOB observation. Notice that we have trained the Bth tree using the data set in L star B. So, for the bth bootstrap sample, these observations, the observations which belong to L minus star B, are out of sample observations or new observations for the bth bootstrap tree. Then the collection of all out of bag observations L minus L star B will function as independent test set. So, basically, by doing the random sampling with replacement, what you have done, you have divided the learning set into two parts. Now, the learning set is treated as your entire data set, and L star B is the set of observations on the basis of which you have developed the bth tree. So, for the bth tree, L star B is the training set, and then for the bth tree, L minus L star B is your independent test set. In this approach, it is not required to partition data into independent learning and test set for cross-validation. So, in cross-validation, what we do? We divide the entire data set into two parts, two independent parts, learning set and the test set. But in this approach, which is based on bootstrapping, we do not require to partition the data into these two sets. Now, suppose xi yi does not belong to L star B, means xi yi is an out of bag observation. Then T star B is the tree grown from L star B. Then we drop xi down the classification tree T star B and predict class level of xi. And then this acts as a classification vote for xi. The class in which this input observation reaches when it passes through the classification tree gets 1 vote. Now, suppose for ni, which is less than or equal to n trees, xi is out of bag sample. Some of the bootstrap samples xi may be included, and for some other bootstrap samples xi is out of bag sample. And suppose ni is the number of samples for which it is out of bag sample. Then drop xi down each of ni trees and aggregate the votes for each of the k classes. And suppose p head xi is equal to p1 head xi, so on pk head xi transpose. Now, p head k xi is the proportion of ni trees that voted for capital Xi equal to Xi to be a member of the kth class pi k. We are denoting the kth class by pi k. And then p hat k xi is an estimate of the probability of pi k given xi. Given this particular input observation, the probability of the class pi k, or the probability that x belongs to pi k given x equal to xi. Then out of bag classifier, say we denote it by C bag xi, is obtained as corresponding to the ith observation, C bag xi is equal to argument maximum k p hat k xi. So, the class which obtains maximum vote or the class for which this proportion is maximum is the final class of xi which we have predicted. So, we assign xi to class with maximum number of votes. Obviously, the class which has maximum number of votes, for that class p hat k xi is also maximum. Then out of bag misclassification rate is, say, PE bag equal to, by PE bag we denote out of bag misclassification rate. So, this is equal to 1 upon n summation I equal to 1 to n. Then we have indicators function C bag xi not equal to yi. So, we observe that PE bag is the proportion of times that predicted class C bag xi is different from the true class yi. Notice that the true class corresponding to xi is yi and C bag xi not equal to yi means the predicted class which is C bag xi is different from yi, or there is a misclassification of xi, and this indicator function takes value 1 when a misclassification occurs or when C bag xi is not equal to yi, and it takes value 0 when a correct classification takes place, that is C bag xi is equal to yi. And then if we take this summation, it gives you the number of times the misclassification takes place for all the observations, and then we are dividing it by n. So, ultimately BE bag xi is the proportion of times the predicted class B bag xi is different from the true class yi, and this is for all I also. Now, we consider bagging regression tree predictors. Suppose L star B is the bth bootstrap sample and T star B is the regression tree, and then on the basis of this regression tree, which is based on the bth bootstrap sample, the predictor is mu head star bx. This is the predictor. Then the average predictor based on all the bootstrap samples is mu head bag x equal to 1 upon b summation small b equal to 1 to capital B mu head star bx. So, what we have done? We have taken average of all these predictors. Say mu head star bx is the predictor based on the bth bootstrap sample, and then we take average over all bootstrap samples. So, finally, we get this average predictor. Out of bag approach is used to evaluate predictive ability of a bagged regression estimate. So, suppose xi, yi belongs to the learning set L. Then we draw xi down each of ni bootstrap trees whose out-of-bag samples contain xi, yi. So, suppose ni number of bootstrap trees have xi, yi as out-of-bag sample. Then for each of these ni bootstrap trees, we drop down xi. And then out-of-bag regression estimate is mu head bag xi equal to 1 upon ni summation over b belonging to ni mu head star b xi. And here ni denotes the set of ni bootstrap samples not containing xi, yi. That is, it is the set of bootstrap samples for which xi, yi is out of bag observation, and small ni is the number of such bootstrap samples. Now, you can easily obtain the out of bag error rate as, say, we denote it by PE bag, which is equal to n inverse summation I equal to 1 to n yi minus mu head bag xi whole square. So, for the classification problem, we take the misclassification rate as PE bag, whereas for the regression problem, we take this mean squared error as PE bag, the out of bag error rate. Now, we come to boosting. The objective of boosting is to enhance the accuracy of a weak binary classification learning algorithm. And suppose C1, C2, Cm, these are M-based classifiers. Then for x equal to small x, the boosted classifier is given by C alpha x equal to sine of f alpha x, where we define f alpha x equal to summation j equal to 1 to m alpha j upon summation j dash equal to 1 to m alpha j dash into c j x, where alpha equal to alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha m transpose is m vector of constant coefficients. And then we divide alpha j by summation of alpha j dash, so that the ultimate coefficient adds to 1 when we take summation from j equal to 1 to m. So, what we are doing? We are taking this jth classifier Cjx for x equal to small x, and then we have capital M such classifiers. We are multiplying each of Cjx by some constant or by some weight, so that the sum of all the weights is equal to 1, and then we add here. And say these base classifiers are taking values 1 and minus 1. It takes value 1 if an observation belongs to a particular class, say jth class, and it takes value minus 1 if the observation does not belong to the jth class. And after taking this weighted sum, we look at the sign of f alpha x. and then we assign it value 1 or -1, and accordingly we classify the observation capital X equal to small x, and this is the boosted classifier. Now, this is an example. Suppose you have to classify an email as spam or not spam, and then you have 4 stump classifiers, and the first classifier is C1 equal to +1 if email contains the word money, and -1 if it does not contain the word money. Then the second classifier is C2 equal to 1 if the email contains word free, and -1 otherwise. The third classifier is it takes value 1 if email contains word order, and it takes value -1 if it does not contain the word order. And then the fourth classifier is C4 equal to +1 if email contains the word credit, and it takes value -1 if it does not contain the word credit. Now, these are 4 classifiers, or you can say that 4 weak classifiers, and basically our objective is to combine all these weak classifiers so that you get a better improved classifier. Then we define F email equal to 0.2 C1 plus 0.1 C2 plus 0.4 C3 plus 0.3 C4. So, by using some method we have obtained these weights, and then we classify an email as spam or non-spam by using this function F email. We consider signature F email which takes value 1 or -1, and then if it takes value 1 we classify it as spam, and if it takes value -1 then we classify it as non-spam. And for obtaining these weights we use AdaBoost algorithm, and by AdaBoost we mean boosting by reweighting, say adaptive boosting or discrete ADA boost. Objective is to improve performance of the binary classification. If we classify an email just on the basis of one word, then it is a very weak classifier. But if by using the training data set and then using boosting, we combine all these weak classifiers, we obtain these weights, and then we combine all these weak classifiers, then it improves the performance of these binary classification rules. Now, we consider AdaBoost algorithm for binary classification. Now, suppose this is the learning set L equal to xi yi, I equal to 1 to n, and yi takes value -1 or +1 for all I equal to 1 to n. So, your input is this learning set or the observations of this learning set. This is your input, and it also includes these classes C1, C2, Cm, and we denote these classes C1, C2, Cm by C. And suppose capital T is the number of iterations which we have already fixed as input. Then first we initialize the weight vector. Say, suppose we set W1 equal to W11, W21, so on Wn1 transpose, where Wi1 is equal to 1 upon n for all I. So, initially we have assigned equal weights to all the classes. So, this weight vector W1 is of order n cross 1. Then for t equal to 1 to capital T, select weak classifier CJTX, which belongs to -1 plus 1. So, this is a particular classifier from C, where JT belongs to 1 to so on m. So, JT takes values 1 to so on m. Now, we compute weighted prediction error. PET equal to PEWT, which is expectation given W. We have indicator function I, Yi does not belong to CJIXI, and then this is equal to WT transpose divided by ln transpose WT. We are dividing by this quantity so that the sum of all the weights is equal to 1 ET, where the ith element of ETI is the indicator function of the set that Yi does not belong to CJIXI. And then we set beta t equal to 1 upon 2 log 1 minus PET upon PET. And then we update the weights using this rule. Say WIT plus 1 is equal to WIT upon capital WT exponential twice beta t. Then we have this indicator function Yi does not belong to CJTXI. One thing you must notice that here this W denotes the weight or WT transpose upon ln transpose WT. This is a probability vector associated with the different elements of ET, that is ETI. So, for given W, if we take expectation, then what we get? We get different values of ETI multiplied by the corresponding probabilities, and then we take summation, and finally you obtain this expression. Again, here capital WT, this is the normalizing constant, so that ln transpose WT plus 1, which is equal to summation over I WIT plus 1 is equal to 1. And then this WIT plus 1 also satisfies the conditions of a probability mass function. And WT plus 1 is equal to W1T plus 1, so on WNT plus 1 transpose. Now, your output is signature Fx, where Fx is equal to summation T equal to 1 to capital T beta T CJTX. And then this is equal to summation J equal to 1 to capital M alpha J CJX. Notice that CJTX is equal to summation J equal to 1 to M Then you have this indicator function ijt equal to j cjx. And then if we substitute this cjt here, and then we write alpha j equal to summation t equal to 1 to capital T, beta t I jt equal to j, then we get this expression. Now we come to random forests. Bagging and boosting are used for reducing variance of an estimated prediction function. Random forest is a modification of bagging that builds a large collection of decorrelated trees and then averages them. And the performance of random forests is very similar to boosting, and they are simpler to train and tune. In bagging, actually, we average many noisy but approximately unbiased models. So it reduces the variance. Trees have relatively low bias but noisy. Trees are identically distributed, and then expectation of average of B trees is the same as the expectation of any one of them. So bias of bagged trees is the same as that of the individual trees. So there is not much improvement in bias, and the improvement is just through the variance reduction only. So bagging controls variance, but it does not control bias. Boosting, trees are grown in an adaptive way to remove bias, but not identically distributed. And then you face some problem because the trees are not identically distributed. So suppose you have identically distributed correlated variables with positive correlation rho. Let us take simple case. You have 1 upon b summation b equal to 1 to capital B ZB, and ZB's say have 0 mean, mean is 0, variance is sigma square, and the correlation coefficient between any two ZB, ZB dash is equal to rho. Then you can easily verify that the variance of 1 upon b summation over b ZB, that is the mean, is rho sigma square plus 1 minus rho upon b sigma square. Now, if we increase b, then this part goes to 0, but what about this part? This part remains independent of changes in b. So variance tends to rho sigma square, not 0. So correlation of pairs of bagged trees limits the benefits of averaging. Usually we expect that as b grows large, the variance tends to 0, but here it does not happen. Random forests improve variance reduction of bagging by reducing the correlation between the trees without increasing the variance too much. So this is the advantage of random forests. In random forests, the tree growing process is through random selection of the input variables. And then while growing a tree on a bootstrap data set, now before each split, we select M which is less than or equal to R. R is the total number of input variables, and we select a subset of input variables at random as candidates for splitting. So, while splitting, we do not consider all the input variables, we just take a subset, and then we grow B such that you get this Tx theta B for B belonging to capital B as the tree. And then random forest regression predictor is f hat B R f x equal to 1 upon B summation over B Tx theta B. So, this is basically the idea behind random forest. We select m of the input variables, and then we take B such sets of input variables, and then we grow B such trees, and using B such trees we obtain this predictor. Theta B is cut points at each node and terminal node values of the Bth tree. Then reducing M will reduce the correlation between any pair of trees and hence reduce the variance of the average. For classification, random forest classifies using majority votes. So, for classification purpose, we use this rule, majority vote rule. Whereas for regression, the predictions from each tree at a target point x are averaged. Now, we consider the algorithm for random forests for both regression and classification. So, for small b equal to 1 to capital B, draw a bootstrap sample z star of size n from the training data, and then we grow a random forest tree TB to the bootstrap data by recursively repeating the following steps for each terminal node of the tree until the minimum node size T minimum is reached. Say we select M variables at random from the R variables, and then we pick the best variable or split point among M, and then we split the node into two daughter nodes. Then your output is the ensemble of trees, say TB B equal to 1 to capital B. Further, at a new point x in regression, your prediction is f hat B R f x equal to 1 upon B, B equal to 1 to capital B, TB x. In classification, your class predictor is C hat B x of the Bth random forest tree. And then you apply the majority vote rule, say C hat B R f x equal to majority vote C hat B x for B equal to 1 to capital B. So, in this lecture we have discussed committee machine. The objective of committee machine is to control the generalization error, and the basic idea behind committee machine is to combine the results of multiple models which yield to improved predictors. Two of the basic techniques which we have discussed in this lecture are bagging and boosting. We have also discussed the machine learning tool of random forest in this lecture. So, I am going to stop here. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chitwan Lalji, a PhD student of Health Economics under the supervision of Dr. Debayan Pakrashi from the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, IIT Kanpur. In one of my essays, I'm interested in understanding the relationship between consumption of fruits and vegetables and various health indicators. Health indicators, both subjective and objective health indicators like mental health, self-assessed health, various measures of blood pressure and various measures of cholesterol. Measures of blood pressure like systolic and diastolic BP. You have your incidence of high BP, MAP, and incidence of high MAP. And as far as cholesterol is concerned, I have tried to concentrate more on total cholesterol, good cholesterol, and incidence of high cholesterol. Now, before I go on to what have been my major contributions and various policy implications, I would like to briefly tell you about the policy initiatives of WHO and various countries. The WHO, that is the World Health Organization, it started with a campaign of 5 a day. That is, you should have 5 portions of fruits and vegetables per day. That would be approximately, you could say, 400 grams of fruits and vegetables. Now, a portion, before we go further, I'll just tell you what exactly is a portion. One portion is equivalent to a medium-sized apple or one small glass of fruit juice, which is approximately 150 milliliters, and maybe 3 teaspoons of vegetables. So, the WHO went with a 5 a day campaign, which was further taken up by various countries. Countries like UK, Netherlands, Germany, Norway, they adopted the 5 a day policy, while some went for expansionary dietary policies like France, Australia, Canada, Denmark. So, for example, Australia, it went for go for 2+5 policy, in which it said that you should consume 2 portions of fruits and 5 portions of vegetables per day. And USA went for a policy of fruits and vegetables more matters. That is, you must consume more and more fruits and vegetables. Now, irrespective of these expansionary dietary policies and dietary propagations, it has been found that only 28% of women and 25% of men, they actually meet the recommended dietary norms of 5 a day portion. So the major contribution of my work is firstly to find an association between fruits and vegetables, whether there exists a relationship between fruits and vegetables and health indicators, and if they exist, whether due to heterogeneity in the data, so I will be doing it according to age, by gender, and by your weight. So apart from that, I will go for policy recommendations, in which I am basically studying uh, how much fruits and vegetables matter. Apart from that, which type matters more. So for that, I have taken data from the Health Survey of England. Health Survey of England is an annual survey which takes data, which conducts information regularly on demographic and socioeconomic characteristics. You have your lifestyle behaviors like an individual smokes or doesn't smoke, alcohol consumption, you have your sedentary and physical activities, and you have various health indicators also which have been collected. Before I go on to what exactly is my research, I would like to concentrate more on fruits and vegetables, like what kind of questions were asked in the survey. Questions like, what kind of fresh fruit do you eat? Did you eat any dried fruit yesterday? Don't count dried fruits in cereals, cakes. Apart from that, for vegetables, they asked how many tablespoons of vegetables did you eat yesterday? So, approximately after this whole survey was conducted, data was converted into portions of fruits. And like for example, 3 tablespoons of vegetables is equivalent to 1 portion. So, data was converted and provided to the users, that is us, from the UK Data Health Survey. So the major contributions of my paper is that I found a strong negative association between uh, intake of fruits and self-assessed health, then various measures of blood pressure like mean arterial pressure, high mean arterial pressure, high blood pressure, systolic and diastolic BP, and your total cholesterol. Apart from that, I have found a strong positive association between consumption of vegetables and good cholesterol. So, it is recommended in a way that if you want to control your blood pressure, you must consume more and more fruits. And as far as vegetables are concerned, they impact your good cholesterol. Apart from that, I went in for a falsification test. A falsification test is basically conducted to know whether the model that you have adopted and the conclusions that you are drawing are not spurious. So, if a falsification test is done to know, in a way, it is tested by seeing an indicator, a health indicator, which is not being impacted by your consumption of fruits and vegetables. And then we see whether there is significant result or not. If there is no significant result, that means your model is good and your results are non-spurious. So what we did is, for falsification test, we took ear complaints and infectious diseases. Now, ear complaints, like if you are deaf since birth, or you have some kind of imbalance, body imbalance, that is not being impacted by your post consumption of fruits and vegetables, and we did find insignificant results. Apart from that, infectious diseases like HIV, AIDS, etc., we found similar insignificant results, indicating that our results are not non-spurious. Apart from that, we went, since there was a lot of heterogeneity in the data, like by gender, by age, and by weight, we did the regression analysis. We found results which stated that as far as fruits are concerned, it impacts a male's health more than a female's health. So it is basically said a man should consume more fruits to impact his health, whereas as far as vegetables are concerned, they impact a woman's health more. But this has been only seen as far as cholesterol is concerned, the various measures of cholesterol, like total cholesterol, good cholesterol, and your incidence of getting high cholesterol. Now, after this, we went in for a policy implication, and in the policy implication, we tried to find two policy implications: what matters and exactly how much portion matters. So as far as how much portion matters, we have found that on an average, 5 or more portions of fruits impact your overall health, that is your self-assessed health, your MAP, your incidence of high MAP, and incidence of high BP. But if you want to have a good mental health, so you can optimize your mental health by consuming 3 or 4 portions of fruits as well. And similarly, as far as self-assessed health and total cholesterol is concerned, an individual must consume 4 to 5 portions to optimally have the impact of consumption of fruits. Apart from that, vegetables have had a very little impact on your health. It only impacts your incidence of getting high MAP and high BP, and it's seen that only it impacts when you consume 5 or more portions of fruits. So an optimum consumption of 5 or more portions of fruits and vegetables are recommended, but fruits have a more impact on your overall health, on various measures like self-assessed health, mental health, your various measures of blood pressure, and various cholesterol levels. Another thing that we find is which type of fruit matters. It has been seen that all size fruits, they impact your self-assessed health, your systolic and diastolic blood pressure, your mean arterial pressure, your high BP, and incidence of getting high MAP and high cholesterol. But we find that as far as frozen fruits or canned fruits are concerned, they help in regulating your incidence of getting high MAP or high BP, but it has a trade-off. That means there is something negative happening. It reduces the good cholesterol in your body. Apart from this, if you have an incidence of getting high cholesterol, it is recommended that you must consume fruit juices, because it has a impact in reducing your probability of getting high cholesterol. And dried fruits, they impact your self-assessed health. As far as vegetables are concerned, very little impact has been seen. It has only been seen in case of portion of salads and its association with self-assessed health. Another thing that they have seen is vegetables in composite, they have an association with good cholesterol. So overall, my research basically says that there is an association between consumption of fruits and vegetables and various health indicators, and it is highly recommended that an individual, in order to be healthy, must consume 5 or more portions of fruits and 5 or more portions of vegetables per day. But fruits have a more impact on your overall health. Apart from that, all size fruits, they have a better impact on your overall health, your mental health, various measures of blood pressure and cholesterol. So, thank you.